Chat Show. I'm Jack Bybee, your host and presenter of the show, The Jack Chat Show. Welcome. I hope you will enjoy. I've been guided, I believe, to be here, to be on to create the show for a very simple reason, in my view, a very simple reason. But what gives me the wherewithal to talk about an issue that is so subjective and in many societies is absolutely taboo. The concept of what many people here call death, I call it the other side. I had a near-death experience in 1972. I was working in bookselling, wanted to go and work in London, decided I'd go to the Munich Olympics and then go on to London to work as a bookseller. That didn't happen. Stuff got in the way. I got very, 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 very ill. In fact, in every respect of the word, I was deathly ill. I remember once that the day before I flatlined, I said to my mother, "Am I going to die?" And words that mother would later regret. She said, "Yes, it's probably for the best. Your hospital fees are bankrupting your father." Well, be that as it may, I did flatline. There was a deathbed vision, two images of an ascended master, someone who I recognized as Christ, beckoning me to another realm. Well, mother didn't expect me to come back. Come to think of it, neither did I. But here I am. To cut from the past to the present just very quickly, I'm still a participant with Max Ryan's wonderful The Positive Principle show. That airs immediately, the last edition airs immediately after the show. And Max and Polly, the two life coaches, Polly challenged me to describe why I came back, why I'm here on the earth plane. And I strongly believe the reason why I am here again is to tell others of the beauty, the perfect love, and the wonder of the other side, what many people call heaven, whatever. I sometimes refer to it as a death consciousness. But let me tell you a story. And this is really why I call a lot of, or I label a lot of the show, Be Prepared. Because so many people, to me, don't understand what happens after the spirit transitions. Well, there I was, lying close to death in a hospital ward. You've heard of relatives or even medical staff talk about Aunt Martha, who was on her deathbed, and they expected Aunt Martha to shuffle off. And she didn't. All of a sudden, she started chatting away quite merrily to Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob, who'd passed on 10 years before the time. Aunt Martha really is going a bit dotty, isn't she? No. I experienced a very similar thing, a deathbed vision. Eventually, I heard the angelic voices, and I heard, "Come home, come, you need rest, come home." And in what I now strongly believe, that nothing can happen to you unless you allow it to happen, I gave up. I said, okay, this is it. I remember looking back at my body from my spirit left the body, looked back at it, I didn't like what I saw under the white sheet, grotesque physical form. And all of a sudden, my spirit was heading off for the ceiling. And in spirit, I passed through, these big light bulbs that they use in hospital wards. My spirit went through the glass of the light bulb, and then, to my amazement, right through the filament of the light bulb. And as that happened, I thought, oh, the nursing sister is going to be really acid with me because I probably put the light bulb out. But in spirit, I looked over where my shoulder would have been. It wasn't there, but the light bulb was still going. Okay. And now I started to teach myself how to move in spirit. You move by thinking. And I said, okay, let's go down the hospital passages. This is rather fun, let's do it. I was traveled, I presume, completely invisible down the hospital ward. The little nurse who had come to me at 3 o'clock in the morning and forgotten to write down something on the chart, the medical chart, and that I still needed to tell her about, was just heading for the for the ladies' room. And in a moment of not quite getting used to what I could do, I nearly went in spirit into the nurses' ladies' room. But then I felt embarrassed. Now, hang on, you can't do that. That's not the right and proper thing to do. So in thinking, I kept on going down the passage. But I felt called to go up. And suddenly I was out of the roof of the hospital, right through the roof. The roof didn't open up and let me go through. I just went through. I looked down on the roof of the hospital. I looked down on the tower. The one side of the tower was painted, the other side wasn't. And still the angelic voices called. And slowly, as I looked down, Cape Town, South Africa, I looked down, the moon was shining down on the South Atlantic. It was a beautiful day. The whole Cape Peninsula was dark, a few lights of the city, of course, but then I was distracted by the appearance of what I now understand to be circles of an energy vortex, commonly referred to as the tunnel. At the very end of this tunnel was the most beautiful golden light, very wonderful. And there was nothing else that mattered. All I wanted to know, all I wanted to be, was to get closer to that golden light, what I call the being of light. Many near-death experiences refer to God as the being of light. God, the concept of God is just there's a word I avoid, the word awesome. There are only two things that are awesome to me. The one, of course, the being of light, God. The other are the Himalaya. But two extremes, I know, but awesome. Those two concepts have the word awesome attached to it. Yesterday, as I was walking out of my cottage here in Tucson, Arizona, an F-16 took off from the Davis Monson Air Force Base, went screaming overhead. And it brought back memories of traveling down the tunnel. In spirit, my spirit traveled faster than I have ever traveled in my life. It seemed that galaxies and stars and flashes of light went screaming past me, as the only thing I wanted to do was to reach the being of light. And suddenly there was this loud gong, or sounding like a gong. And there I was on the other side, in a realm of magenta, perfect love, purple, what I call, for convenience sake, the purple void. And there I looked around. Now, when I say I said, I didn't really say anything. I thought, where am I? How did this all begin? And it was rather interesting because I'd thought, where am I? And a voice that I've now come to love deeply, um, deep, authoritative voice, a wonderful voice, said, you are in what you call heaven. Okay. And let me just backtrack because I really forgot something. Now, as the spirit was transitioning into the tunnel, I was voice again, and this is what the 8 pilot shows of this of the Jack Chet show are going to surround the 3 questions. Raymond Moody in Life After Life also describes these 3 questions with a little bit of modification. The first question was, what have you done with the life just past? And my immediate thought was, wait a minute, I'm still alive. I can see, I can feel, I can think, I can hear. What life just passed? The second question was, whom have you loved and been loved by? Of course, that answer was simple for me. My border collie, my best friend, is a wonderful guy. Kim Dog has loved me, and well, I suppose he has. If I feed him, I put water in the water bowl. He loves me, no problem. Especially if we go to the mountains and he wants the rucksack. He sees the rucksacks going on our backs. He's coming along. That's love. And what have you learned? What have I learned? Not that much. I've been very ill, you see, and I haven't done well with algebra. Are you angry with me because I didn't do well with algebra? Those were the 3 questions. Let me rehash them quickly. What have you done with the life just past? Whom have you loved and been loved by? What have you learned? Back or forward or whatever to the other side. There I was in spirit and thinking, how did this all begin? Against this magenta purple void, I saw, out of what is known in art as the picture plane, out of the left side of the picture plane came a minute orangey, yellowish, beige molecule is zipping across the picture plane. And from the right-hand side came a green molecule, also traveling horizontally. And these 2 molecules collided. If on the Jack Chet Show website, you go to my art on the Southwest Art page, you will see colors that are virtually embedded within my psyche. Colors that I saw when these 2 molecules collided and created the Big Bang. Huh. I bet that's raised an eyebrow or 2. On the other side, as far as I'm concerned, anything is possible. On the earth plane here, guess what? Anything is possible. Time is is an issue that has been created by man. I'm researching at the moment the correlation between what and others have found on the other side of consciousness, in death consciousness, and quantum. It's very interesting. Stay tuned for this. Forgive me a moment. Right, just needed to check the time. You've heard a lot about the changes, or I'm presuming you've heard about the changes in the character of the near-death experiencer. And while the very last thing I want is for this show to be a talk on my near-death experiences, I'm not here to tell anybody their religion, their sexual moors, their how to vote politically. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here, I'm certain, to try to help, because sooner or later, your turn, my turn, it's going to happen again. And we're going to have to answer those three questions, or modifications of those three questions. Of the life just passed, whom have you loved and been loved by? What have you learned? So here we are. One of the fascinating concepts of the other side was that I was taught lessons. One of them, and I chose this one specifically because a friend of mine, I met her on Sunday, told me that she had helped a fellow in the neighborhood who was helping children. But as she drove past, she saw he'd hurt his ankle. My friend's a nurse, or was a nurse. She stopped, helped him, took him home. That's a loving thing to do. That's a very deep, loving thing to do. According to my friend, she'd never spoken to him. Now contrast that attitude with someone, a good, decent bank balance, who drives a cars, and could give a damn about helping anyone else except for growing their bank balances. Who do you think is going to be able to answer the three questions? Who's going to be able to answer, what have you done with the life just past? Whom have you loved and been loved by? And what have you learned? Why do I go off on this tangent? There's the purple void. I'm on the other side, purple void. Way off in the distance, I see a minute little speck, a yellowish light. And the voice of the being of light says to me, that is what you call your sun, S-U-N, sun. Ah, it's awfully far away. Yes. And then I see, as it appears to come a little bit closer to me, I see on the right-hand side, in a horizontal plane, three minute specks of light. And I feel emotion. I feel an attraction to the third little speck of light out. Basically, I saw on NASA the other day, it called the third rock out, Earth. And I felt an emotional attachment to this little azure speck. And suddenly the Earth got a lot closer. And the lesson from the being of light was, do you now perceive how meaningless is the pursuit of the material. What bothers me, or not really a bother, it's what I wonder. I was in bookselling, I was in publishing. It's not a very well paying profession. People don't go into bookselling to make money. They go into bookselling because they love the book, as I do. Just look behind me. So, why was I being shown this? Surely a lesson is for the student to learn. But I was going to London on the smell of an oil rag, as my father used to say. Smell of an oil rag? Oil doesn't have a smell. Yep, you got it. On nothing. Anyway, that was the lesson. Do you now perceive how meaningless is the pursuit of the material? Would it not be more beneficial to the spirit if we loved more than collected dollars? If we helped, as my friend did, a hurt ankle, helped this fellow walk again. Talk about a good Samaritan. I honestly think my friend is a prime example. But wouldn't it be nice if all of us did it? But here I go. I'm starting to preach again, and I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just trying to raise the level of consciousness. Got 9 minutes. If I could, I've been reading up on quantum, and I just began a book called by Fred Allen Wolf called "Taking the Quantum Leap." I read it before. I'm reading it again. I think it's on page 2, where he says, humans are creatures of the eye. We believe what we see, and we observe what we want to observe. If you and I cannot see something, the chances of us believing it are far less than if we can see it. In the next show, I'll be interviewing another friend of mine. She talked philosophy, and Val is going to tell us about Plato and Plato's view of what happened to the soul. 2 weeks after that, Dr. Lubby will be on. I'll be interviewing her, and she'll be telling us about vibrations. Now, tell me, please, how do vibrations work into death? Because the other side, death consciousness, is a different vibration from earth plane consciousness. If you listen to Max Ryan's The Positive Principle show, you will often hear him talk about the law of attraction. In fact, you don't even have to listen to Max. You can experience it yourself. You see a couple in love. Oh, we feel an attraction to each other. It's simple. Just vibrations. So that's what we got lined up. Excuse me while I check my cue cards. I've been talking for 20 minutes and I might have forgotten something. That's fine. That's covered. Goodness, I remembered virtually everything. Just a personal aside. I found, or I didn't find it, I saw carved onto the east wall of Tangbuchi Monastery in Nepal. A most marvelous salutation. I was told about it. A week ago, Kathmandu was rocked by a massive earthquake. In 1981, I wandered around Freak Street. I was part of the second South African Himalayan expedition. Kathmandu, Patan, Pokhara, it's an ancient city. I know they've had earthquakes before, but I really feel for them. However, these things happen. It's a way these majestic mountains, the Himalayas, the Himalaya, have been formed, basically by the Indian subcontinent who's crashing into the Asian continent. That saying, that mantra, that I believe is on the east wall of Tangbuchi Monastery, I really hope it's still standing. But this is what I bid you tonight. And I truly hope I've given you something to think about. Next week, I believe the saying is, it's the same time, same channel. I hope to go into further detail about the deathbed vision, about the life review especially. I'm going to be talking about that. That causes the change in character, and a good number of other things. I hope you'll be there. You'll be back here. If you missed the show, go to the jackchatshow.com, go to the archives of the Watchers Show. You'll see this very show right there. And so until next week, may you walk in peace, journey in delight, and may the blessings of the Perfect One be with you and yours always. Namaste, Jack out.